everyone, I have our last fairy tale slash folk tale for the week. And remember, folk tales were sent down from grandparents to parents to kids and so on and so on. And this folk tale is actually a Native American folk tale. And it's one of my favorite stories. And it's called The Legend of the Indian Paintbrush. And it's retold and illustrated by Tommy DePaula. So remember, folk tales are told by words, right? So Tommy DePaula, he didn't come up with this story. He's just retelling it so that he can put it in a book. So he doesn't own this story. He's just retelling it from what he's heard. So this book has a lot of words. So I'm going to just read and then show you the picture when I'm done, okay? And this is a story about this boy. And he loves to paint. And he wants to paint the sunset. But he can't find the right colors. He can't find colors that are beautiful enough and bright enough. And so he spends a lot of time looking and looking and looking to see if he can find them. And so we're going to read, eventually he does, but we're going to read how he finds them and what they mean and what happens with them after, okay? So The Legend of the Indian Paintbrush, retold and illustrated by Tommy DePaula. Many years ago, when the people traveled the plains and lived in a circle of teepees, there was a boy who was smaller than the rest of the children in the tribe. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't keep up with the other boys, who were always riding, running, shooting their bows, and wrestling to prove their strength. Sometimes his mother and father worried for him. Can you see it? I'll try moving it this way. Maybe I'll better luck with the light. But the boy, who was called Little Gopher, was not without a gift of his own. Excuse me. From an early age, he made toy warriors from scraps of leather and pieces of wood, and he loved to decorate smooth stones with the red juices from berries he found in the hills. The wise shaman of the tribe understood that Little Gopher had a gift that was special. Do not struggle, Little Gopher. Your path will not be the same as the others. They will grow up to be warriors. Your place among the people will be remembered for a different reason. So a shaman is probably like the chief, someone who's important to the tribe. I don't think he is the chief. I just think he's someone who's important. And in a few years, when Little Gopher was older, he went out to the hills alone to think about becoming a man. For this was the custom of the tribe. And it was there that a dream vision came to him. So he had a dream. The sky filled with clouds, and out of them came a young Indian maiden and an old grandfather. She carried a rolled-up animal skin, and he carried a brush made of fine animal hairs and pots of paint. So there's his vision. The grandfather spoke, "My son, these are tools by which you shall become great among your people. You will paint pictures of the deeds of the warriors and the visions of the shaman, and the people shall see them and remember them forever." The maiden unrolled a pure white buckskin and placed it on the ground. "Find a buckskin as white as this," she told him. "Keep it, and one day you will paint a picture that is as pure as the colors in the evening sky." And as she finished speaking, the clouds cleared and a sunset of great beauty filled the sky. Little Gopher looked at the white buckskin, and on it he saw colors as bright and beautiful as those made by the setting sun. Then the sun slowly sank behind the hills. The sky grew dark, and the dream vision was over. Little Gopher returned to his circle of his people. The next day, he began to make soft brushes from the hairs of different animals, and stiff brushes from the hair of the horse's tail. He gathered berries and flowers and rocks of different colors and crushed them to make his paints. He collected the skins of animals which the warriors brought home from their hunts. He stretched the skins on wooden frames and pulled them until they were tight. So he's using different things from the earth to make paints and his paintbrushes. So he's using different animal hairs for his paintbrushes. He's using berries for some of his paints, right? Maybe if you thought about it, what color berry would you use to make red? Or what color would you use to make purple or blue, right? And he began to paint pictures of great hunts. So he's painting the pictures of the warriors going out and hunting for their food. So back then, they didn't have a grocery store to go to. They couldn't go and pick up chicken or steak or veggies. They had to hunt them or grow them right in a garden, which some of you are growing veggies in your garden. He painted pictures of great deeds, of great dream visions, so that the people would always remember. So he's taking the words of the shaman and other people that they've been passing down, and he's putting them on paper, right? Kind of like a book. But even as he painted, Little Gopher sometimes longed to put aside his brushes and ride out with the warriors, but always he remembered his dream vision, and he did not go with them. Many months ago, he had found this pure white buckskin, but it remained empty because he could not find the colors of the sunset. He used the brightest flowers, the reddest berries, and the deepest purples from the rocks, and still his paintings never satisfied him. They looked dull and dark. I wonder what he's going to try to use to make them bright. He began to go to the top of the hill each evening and look at the colors that filled the sky and try and understand how to make them. He longed to share the beauty of his dream vision with his people. So do you remember when he had that dream and they wanted him to paint something as pure as the night sky? He's trying to figure out how he can make all those beautiful colors on paper. But he never gave up trying, and every morning when he awoke, he took out his brushes and his pots of paints and created the stories of the people with the tools that he had. So did he give up? Nope, he always tried his best. One night, as he lay awake, he heard a voice calling to him. Because you have been faithful to the people and true to your gift, you shall find the colors you are seeking. Tomorrow, take the white buckskin and go to the place where you watch the sun in the evening. There, on the ground, you will find what you need. So, he's going to go get those colors that he's looking for. The next evening, as the sun began to go down, Little Gopher put aside his brushes and went to the top of the hill. As the colors of the sunset spread across the sky, and there on the ground, all around him, were brushes filled with paint, each one a color of the sunset. Little Gopher began to paint quickly and surely, using one brush and then another. And as the colors in the sky began to fade, Little Gopher gazed at the white buckskin, and he was happy. He had found the colors of the sunset. He carried his painting down to the circle of the people, leaving the brushes on the hillside. Looks like a nice bright painting to me. And the next day, when the people awoke, the hill was ablaze with color, for the brushes had taken root in the earth and multiplied into plants of brilliant reds, oranges, and yellows. And every spring from that time, the hills and the meadows burst into bloom. So these are supposed to be the paintbrushes that he left in the hill. They kind of sprouted. They took root in the ground, and they made beautiful flowers using the same colors that they used for the sunset. And every spring, the people danced and sang the praises of Little Gopher, who had painted for the people. And the people no longer called him Little Gopher, but they called him He Who Brought the Sunset to Earth. The end. So that one, like I said, was a little bit less like a fairy tale and a little bit more of a folk tale, right? Where people pass legends of how things happened or why we have certain things today. Folk tales are pretty interesting, so you might want to find one and learn a new folk tale from a different culture. This one was a Native American culture. I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye.